All right, so this is about how to stop bickering with your partner. Um, so, and this is just my perspective. It's the way I perceived a situation, and this is, it's what I do here. So, anyways, I was over at a friend's house last night for a little gathering, and during this event, there was a couple that was there that got into it. And it ended up with them going home, I guess, prematurely, a little bit early, because that's the way the energy was. And so, of course, or not of course, but like, yeah, of course, after they left, I mean, there was a little bit of discussion regarding it. And even when they were still there, and so it was an interesting situation because at the like when just after it happened, say like the guy said, he's like, is it just me or did like this person just freak out for nothing? And everybody agreed except for myself, and I was like, no, not at all. What I saw there was it, and it took two to tango. It's like that didn't just happen. The way that you handled the situation was not in a way that was, say capable of not very good conflict resolution. Did not handle the situation, of course, because it ended up blowing up and turning into a thing. We're not talking the end of the world here. I mean, this is, it's very common with a lot of people, with a lot of couples to bicker, for there to be this power struggle where they kind of egos clash and then they get into it and it's just like, not feeling each other, not cooperating. And so, what I saw, we talked about it, and then, at the end of the evening when I went home, because it's difficult, like how do you put it into words what happened? You kind of got to trace the steps back, and it's like, okay, well, and so what it was like, the way I saw it, she said, like he said something and she felt like he was not taking her into consideration. So there was some feeling there. And then so she said something, and it was like the easiest way for me to explain it is like she set up a little trap and he took the bait. And so this is why it takes two to tango. It's not like and it is a result of not cooperating, not communicating, not having, not having established an established protocol of how you handle and relate to one another. There's a thing called there's a system of communicating called nonviolent communication, which was developed by an American psychologist, I think in like the 70s. Yeah, and it's called nonviolent communication, and it's kind of based on the premise that everything that we do is in service to a need that we have, like a real need. And it's never that our needs are in conflict. It's how we go about trying to appease our needs, how we go about trying to get what we think that we need. And it's like without, sometimes we can be indirect, and then it can lead to confusion and conflict and whatnot. So it's just really about being able to clearly communicate what you're trying to say. But I think a part of the issue is that men and women speak different languages. So like, when this whole thing erupted, it was like, he had said something and then she felt a certain way. And then the key word is feel, right? And as I understand it, this is very much, how the feminine operates on this, using this language of feeling. Whereas like, and as a man, you're not going to go into a logical discussion and then like have it, you're not going to use logic in order to pacify the situation, be like, oh, and then she's going to be like, oh yeah, that's right, because da 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 da, thank you for explaining that to me. So it's like you have to learn to speak each other's languages, and it's a tricky thing because I don't think most people are versed or even like aware of kind of that idea, maybe like in a very subtle manner, but not so much that it's like you really get that there are different languages that men and women speak. And and so there's a really good book that I recommended to many people. It is called The Way of the Superior Man by David Data. And it goes into some of this stuff, just about how the differences in how we communicate and how to not, like she, like what I said afterwards when this thing happened, it was like, whatever you said, she felt hurt. And that's all that matters, right? And so like she said something as a reaction, and then, damn near as a test. And just to see how, not to see, but I'm not saying that she was testing him, but when a person's upset, and then they she said something, and then he, I guess essentially failed the test because he was not able to see beyond what she said. He was just focusing on the words, and then like in the mind and the ego, and it's got to be everything logical, and just like, then it's where the whole power struggle thing gets into it. And it's like, just that he, what is it? That he, like if you can't, you need to read in between the lines. Like that's the thing. And so, and like the way that I understand it is that, so woman, I'm a man, right? I mean, and I don't pretend to understand women or like, everything about it. I don't pretend to understand anything about anything, right? But I do have an understanding. And so there's an interesting thing. There's a line that I really enjoy from, so there's a book called Thus Spoke Zarathustra by Friedrich Nietzsche. And in this book, I would highly recommend it. It's about like a soothsayer traveling kind of Jesus dude, but like in, I guess like, so Zarathustra, so like Persian Zoroastrian kind of deal. So that part of the world anyways. And then he, and so anyways, like in this, so they say something about like man and how man likes the most dangerous thing. Plaything is the word that they use, and it's like, woman is we're very different, and it's like you can really put your foot in your mouth if you don't know what you're talking about. Maybe I'm doing that here, I hope not, but like and what was the point? Just that as far as I understand it, it's like, because I think with men, with the mind, we're all about understanding things, about labeling and identifying very much the mind and the ego and that kind of stuff. I mean, and it's a beautiful thing, but it can also, like anything, there's positives and negatives to it. Whereas like with women, it's like, I think that they operate much more on the level of intuition. And so, which is like just like a knowing without all of the details, without like this understanding, but it's more like a wisdom, or like a knowing, but not to do with the mind. So it's like, that's why for myself, I always listen to my intuition, because to me, I feel like it presents itself in either a yes or a no. So it's very simple to listen to it. And I tell you, mine never lies to me. My gut always tells the truth. Whereas like your mind, you can like, what do I say, intelligibly reason all kinds of things and scenarios, and you use your logic in order to like justify things, and it's just like, okay, well, da 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 da, and it's just like, anyways, so the mind, as awesome as it is, it has its drawbacks. And so what was the point? Just that, so it's like, women are not, just to say it, it's like, I would say that the chances that she is going to stop setting traps for him is very unlikely until they develop a healthy relationship, a system of communicating, and just like, very, of course, heart, how has to be heart-based, and just a way to, instead of what's, these are the three big killers, is what's wrong with you? Why did you do that? What were you thinking? Like, these are things that couples say to each other sometimes, and they're just like direct challenges. And it's just like, like you feel attacked. And then when people say those things, rather than, how are you doing, honey? Right? Or like, is there anything that I can help you with? Okay. And just like, well, I love you and I'm here if you need anything from me. Like, so there's a much more, anyways, ways to be supportive. I mean, and I think that's what we all want, but we don't always know how to do that. This is a thing, you get lost in a relationship, it can be quite a challenge, because I think it gets carried away and you're so close to it, and it's hard because it's just nonstop. And so, you have to be able, as I understand it, it's like, so say, for me, in my mind anyways, that it is the role of the man to see beyond this and to take the reins and to find that center, that groundedness, and be like, this is not about me. This is because we don't have a way to communicate. She's doing the best that she can. This isn't about me. This is about her, and this is about us. And so it's like, it's important for the man to learn how to see beyond the behavior and to handle the situation in a mature and respectable manner, without trying to explain things away, without some kind of a rationalization or a justification, or, heaven forbid, getting into a power struggle or like an ego battle. Because it's like, for me, it's heartbreaking, especially when you see couples that do this all the time and they have patterns. And it's, as an outsider, it's quite easy to see because you're not caught up in it. You're not carried away. And, you're able to go home and think about what you witnessed. And it's just like, it's not, for them, they have to go home and argue. Whereas for me, I can sit here and I can think about it for as long as it takes me because I like to think about stuff like that, just to kind of understand the dynamic, the relationship, what is taking place, psychologically, energetically, emotionally, philosophically, right? So, and then because like, that when the grass is greener on the other side, it's like, say, once you find a way to support each other properly, healthy, when the whole toxic relationship and toxic forms of communication and like subpar methods of getting what you need, when that stuff goes away, all of the energy that is put towards the conflict gets to go towards helping each other and working together. So it's just the hugest waste of resources getting caught up in, or being in a relationship that that you might struggle to fix. And so, and I think it's important too, just to recognize that it's like, you're in it together. So it's like, don't point fingers or look for the blame, because something Lao Tzu says is, when you blame others, there's no end to the blame. Whereas if you just, if everybody just takes it upon themselves and says, okay, yeah, I can see how when I was thinking about how I'm going to manage my time, I wasn't really taking you into consideration, and I can see how you could have issue with that. And then, and then the other person can say, yeah, well, and then that's why I said this, because I was hurt. And then the other person be like, yeah, well, and then that's why I fired back. And that's why out came an attitude and a tone and an intensity, just like, that the whole ego thing. And then, and then you sit back and laugh at it, because it's like, at the end of the day, you're with the person because you love them. You want to make it work. I mean, you wouldn't be together if you didn't want to make it work. But, psychology is not everybody's cup of tea. I mean, like I don't have kids. And so I have a lot of time to think about this kind of stuff. I couldn't imagine if I did. I would never have an opportunity, just because it's so nonstop. I wouldn't have time to reflect deeply upon the things that happen in life. And like, certainly been through a few relationships, and I always take a significant portion of time después after a relationship, and by choice, because it takes so much to unpack, just the littlest of things. Like, this is an argument that took place. It has literally nothing to do with me. This is something that happened amongst my friends, yet I am very grateful that it happened in my presence, so that I could stew on it for a little bit and, be able to make a video about how I relate to situations. Like, this is, I guess, why I do this YouTube thing, is because I get stimulated by things that happen in life. And it's like, I don't know, it's like, I guess for myself, like, normally I'm quite peaceful and I don't just come up with stuff like this, but I have, just because it happened, there was 3 things, and now I got 2 more videos to make. And anyways, I think I'm just rambling right now, but yeah, I believe that is everything. I mean, for now, just to touch on the subject, because it's supposed to be a cooperation, not a competition. This is your partner. You're supposed to be working together. And yeah, it was tough too, because like this couple is just like, I have, when you see people behaving in this manner, but it's like, how do you give counsel? How do you support? You'd be like, hey, well, let's all sit down. And it's like, no, he's like, you're not a psychologist. We don't want to, and it's just like, okie dokes. Well, I don't know. It's just, it's tough. And I guess all you can do is support people in whatever way that they, are comfortable with you supporting them. If they ask for help, then go right ahead. But yeah, I guess a lot of the time you have to bite your tongue, or maybe sometimes there is a time to say something. I don't know. But anyways, that is this for that. And yeah, to be continued, because relationships, dynamics, psychology, it is like not going to stop anytime soon. I could talk about it for days. So take care and peace out. Yeah, and get along. Yeah, write it down. Write down a list of the things, and it's just like, this is how we're going to keep straight. You know, if you don't, I feel it's like if you don't have a touchstone, something to go back to as a reference point, be like, well, this is how we stay like on the same page. It's important. That's what I would recommend, you know, create a 10 commandments, be like, this is how we handle situations, and constantly evolve that list of things. So it's just like everybody knows that it's an equal playing field and what's going on. And if, yeah, something to reference. So that's it, and I'm done. All right.